Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And one big topic for the PS5 early in the generation has been the DualSense controller. It really is a great controller thanks to all of its new technology, especially with those adaptive triggers. It's hard to explain exactly how it feels, but it's impressive and very well might be the defining feature of the PS5 right now. Well, it looks like we got some more evidence that Xbox might be heavily considering doing their own version of those adaptive triggers. So we're going to talk about that today, and also, Nintendo might be set to reveal a massive game very soon. Like maybe even this week if rumors prove to be true, so we're going to talk about that as well. However, let's first go over some of the quick news, starting off with a couple of anniversaries. Yeah, you're probably going to start hearing about a lot of different anniversaries throughout this year. It seems like several big franchises has some kind of meaningful anniversary in 2021, including Zelda, Sonic, Pokemon, Metroid, Donkey Kong, and the list goes on and on. Some of these will likely get some big games throughout 2021. Two of which, though, are rather interesting because they're already getting some teases. Famitsu just published a bunch of Japanese developers' aspirations, keywords, and things that they're paying attention to in 2021. And a few of these spark some speculation, including one from the creative producer and chief director of the Persona team, Kazuhisa Wada. Now, he went on to say, "We are quietly working on our projects. Thanks to your support, this year marks the 25th anniversary of the Persona series. We've got some exciting plans in the works, so please look forward to them." Yeah, it sounds like they might have some big Persona plans for this year. Of course, Persona 5 Strikers will be releasing in just a few short months, but something that sticks in my mind is that Persona 4 PC release. That was actually very successful to the point it was in the top 25 best-selling new releases on Steam in 2020. That's very impressive, and I'm sure Sega is extremely happy with that. I think it's very possible that may have finally convinced Sega and Atlus to port more Persona games to different devices. I don't know why it's taken them as long as it has, as it's always been rather obvious to most fans following the Persona franchise that it would be successful, but maybe we can finally make Persona a multi-platform franchise from this point forward. I mean, honestly, if they put some of the older Persona games on the Switch, that would sell incredibly well. That would be absolutely huge for the Persona franchise, and I think we might just get our wish in 2021. Now, as for the other tease, it sounds like Koei Tecmo has some plans for Fatal Frame's 20th anniversary. That's a game I haven't heard about in a long time. The original release way back in 2001 in Japan for the PS2, and since then, it spawned several sequels and spin-offs. I believe the latest release was in 2014, Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater. I never really got into these games myself, but I know there is quite a fan following for this franchise, so you might get a new release rather soon. One franchise that I'm very familiar with, though, is Kirby, and HAL Laboratory is teasing a new Kirby game in 2021. Let's take a look at what they said. "We'll keep working hard on our goal in 2021. That is, for as many people as possible to enjoy Kirby. We have plans not only for games, but also for merchandise, books, and a variety of events like with the Kirby Cafe. We hope you'll continue to support both Kirby and HAL Laboratory in 2021. This does seem like they're suggesting that they're going to release the next Kirby game in 2021. That really isn't overly surprising though. Kirby isn't always necessarily the best rated games for Nintendo, but it's a very successful franchise, and it's been a few years since we got our last big Kirby game on the Switch. I believe Kirby All-Star Allies has sold several million copies to date, and then we had Kirby Fighters 2 in 2020, which was co-developed. That's the thing though, they release a new Kirby quite often. Some a little bigger, such as Kirby's Epic Yarn, while some a little smaller. I mean, if you just look at the 3DS, I believe that got like 6 or 7 Kirby games in total, and that's not even including the Wii U and Switch releases. The last one for the 3DS was Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn that released in 2019. So I would not be shocked at all if we do end up getting another Kirby game in 2021. It's going to be a big year for the Switch though, and we're going to talk a bit more about that in just a moment. We also have an exciting new PS5 game to talk about. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you probably know I do like VR games, and what got me started on VR was PSVR. They may not have the most advanced headset, but PlayStation, just like with their traditional games, they make some truly exceptional virtual reality games. Astrobot to this day is probably my favorite VR game, and it ranks right up there with Half-Life Alyx. It really is that good. Regardless, another game that they worked on which doesn't get talked about near as much as it probably should is Blood and Truth. This game was being marketed as one of the first true AAA VR games, and it did exactly what it set out to do. It did feel like a big AAA game, and they did an extremely good job with it. It was basically like playing in an action movie, and it had that PlayStation flair to it where it was very cinematic. Well, according to a LinkedIn page, Sony's London studios that worked on Blood and Truth is now working on a PS5 game that has some multiplayer elements to it. Now, whether this is a traditional PS5 game or VR remains to be seen, but based off Blood and Truth, this is a very talented studio, and PlayStation fans should absolutely be paying attention to whatever they're working on. From what I've played, I would trust them making either a traditional or VR game. I think it would fit great in both settings, to be quite honest with you. I do find it interesting though that it's got some multiplayer elements to it. That is one area that PlayStation could improve on, so maybe London Studios could help out with that. Unfortunately though, we do have to talk about a cancelled game today that fans have been really wanting for years, and I know this is disappointing. However, according to a couple Rockstar insiders, Tease 2 and Yon2295, it does sound like Rockstar was originally developing Bully 2. The first game to this day is considered to be a great game, and fans have been asking for a sequel, so that could have been a cool reveal. Unfortunately though, according to them, it may have been cancelled as of 2017 to focus on other big AAA projects. These would be Grand Theft Auto 6 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Obviously, those two games are going to take a ton of resources, so they ended up sadly pushing Bully 2 to the side. Now, maybe they kept some of those assets and they can return to them in the future, so not all hope is lost for you Bully fans, but it's likely not going to happen until we get an official release of Grand Theft Auto 6. That's the big question though. When are we going to see GTA 6? There always seems to be a new rumor around that, but I'll ask you. Make a prediction on when you think GTA 6 will release. Let's talk about Nintendo though. I've said it a few times, but I believe that the Nintendo Switch is going to have a huge year in 2021, and it might even be the best year yet for the Switch. That's saying a lot, but they already have a ton of big games coming, which I highlighted last weekend in the top 17 best upcoming games for the Switch. If you missed that, go check that out, but there's a rumor going around that a massive game is going to get revealed this week. Now, I do want to make it clear, this is just a rumor, so don't take this as any kind of confirmation or anything like that. But this is what's happening. So Pokemon announced that they have a special stream planned for New Year's on December 31st. They plan on streaming from space where some Pokemon are planning to make an appearance. That's pretty cool and creative, but fans are absolutely going crazy over this stream. There's a lot of speculation that a Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake could be revealed here because the legendary Pokemon from those games, Palkia and Dialga, revolve around time and space. Well, they're streaming from space, so could they really announce that here? I'm not really sold on that, but at the same time, I do think that there could be a big Pokemon game release in 2021. As I said earlier, you're going to hear a lot about anniversaries this year, and 2021 is the 25th anniversary for Pokemon. So they probably do have some big plans. Of course, we know about the new Pokemon Snap, but the insider Helios, which has proven to leak accurate information in the past, claims that a Generation 4 remake is planned for a November 2021 release. Helios also claims that Detective Pikachu will be getting a sequel. Whether this is true or not, I'm not sure, but this rumor has been gaining some traction since November. Now, one other thing to note here is the Pokemon release pattern. It does seem like remakes typically come 1 to 2 years after a mainline release. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green released 2 years after Ruby and Sapphire. Heart Gold and Soul Silver released 1 year after Platinum. Omega Ruby and Sapphire again 1 year after X and Y. And then Let's Go released 1 year after Ultra Sun and Moon. So it is possible that we could get another remake in 2021, which would be 2 years after Pokemon Sword and Shield and 1 year after all of its DLC. I will say that's a very fast turnaround for a remake though. In the past, their remakes are spread out further than 3 years apart. They're usually 4 to 5 years apart, but we'll see. As a big fan of Pokemon, I'm hoping this is true, but at the same time, don't get your hopes up too much until there's some official confirmation. I'll kind of keep an eye on the New Year's stream, but I'm going to keep my expectations in check. On to our last bit of news though, there's been a lot of talk about the PS5 DualSense controller. I do stand by what I've said. I believe that is the next evolution in controllers, especially those adaptive triggers. Now, I do understand that there are still some concerns over its durability, but at the same time, I love how it feels, and that's what my opinions are based on. Nonetheless, it looks like we got some more evidence that Xbox is heavily considering doing their own version of adaptive triggers, thanks to an Xbox patent that details this type of technology. So this patent has actually popped up a few different times. Back in 2017, Xbox filed a patent that details clutched force feedback triggers, which is very similar to the PS5 DualSense adaptive triggers. So Xbox has been considering this technology for a while now, which is interesting all on its own. Then after that, this patent popped up again in 2018, and now it's resurfaced on December 1st of 2020. Yeah, this month it popped up once again. Now, one of my Twitter followers by the name of Sean pointed out that the filing date was 2017, 2018 it was published, and then 2020 was when it was granted. That does make a lot of sense, but what this tells me is that yes, Xbox is considering this technology going forward, and they've been thinking about it for years. It's interesting that they haven't implemented it yet, but because the community has so strongly reacted to the PS5 DualSense, I do believe Xbox is going to try and do a mid-generation refresh with this type of technology. Even Phil Spencer himself was praising the DualSense controller just a few weeks back and noted that they should learn from each other. That makes it sound like that they're going to do the same thing in the future. However, I have seen some speculation that maybe they're going to try to do this with the new Xbox Elite controller instead, which I hope that isn't the case. I want this in a standard controller so it's widely available and more developers will focus on it. The Elite controller is expensive and that could keep it from being widely available. We'll see what happens, but again, it seems like Xbox is seriously considering this type of technology, and that's dated all the way back to 2017. Let me know though, do you want Xbox to incorporate adaptive triggers or not? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.